when The Exorcist came out, and of course the novel had been this incredible phenomenon hit across the world. I was very young when the book came out, so it wasn't on my reading list. I was still, obviously in school. I think I was around 7th grade maybe when it came out. And when I had the interview for it, and of course, consequently, the role and the movie and the demand and then the world tour and everything, they were trying to show everyone that I was a normal young person, that they had cast somebody that had a fairly all-American look, was a healthy child, and that is why they sent me on these world tours, so people would realize I was fine and that I was an actor and that I didn't take it personally and that I had other things in sports and school and that I was educated and that I just worked very hard on this project that took the world by storm. And so there was always talk of a part 2. And that was it. It was just talk. Finally one day, the script appears. And I was 17 when I made the movie, so it's in that area. And I felt like, wow, this project it's amazing. It's perfect, it's fabulous. They presented a really good next step for the film, for the project, for Regan. You give me, these amazing actors. But Richard Burton, for me, that was what got me. To work with Richard Burton, that's still to this day, is one of the highlights of my life. To have stood in his presence, absolutely. An actor to an actor, there is nothing else like standing in the presence of somebody that is so talented that there's only a few of us that get these opportunities. And it's extraordinary. And I don't think it matters what it might be. It could be sports, it could be anything. If you can learn from masters, you can be in their presence, take advantage of it, because you will learn an amazing resource that you'll carry through your life and always have, and that's a gift to the human spirit. No matter what the cause and effect or what the outcome, there's still what you take from it is extraordinary. So you had John Boorman, and he had just been nominated for an Oscar for Deliverance, of course. Then you went on and had Louise Fletcher, James Earl Jones, and all these amazing people that have been nominated or were Academy Award winners. So the soup looks good, the recipe looks good. Warner Brothers rented a home for me in Beverly Hills, so I was well protected. Obviously my mother was still, was my chaperone. I was my guardian, still underage. They provided everything that we needed. So we start with the rehearsals, and what I really remember was just everybody trying to find their spots, find the chemistries. But John Boorman wanted us to all be hypnotized. Well, that's something for me that probably ain't gonna happen. So that was that. And then we basically just kept working on the script, and then they started making changes. And as the changes came, we still kind of didn't know what was about to happen because nobody did. That's sort of the start of the project. So John Boorman comes to me and he said, I think Regan should tap dance. What? I ain't doing no tap dance. Regan don't tap dance. This is true. Regan don't tap dance. No. Off John sent me to tap dancing lessons. I hated it. I hated it. And then I got to respect it. And then I got to respect it. And I realized what an amazing dance. What an amazing opportunity. I would never, ever have chosen it. And so he incorporated it. I really don't know why. I can actually see my head get back into the dance as shit's hitting the fan and I fall off the stage or whatever. John just put it in there. I don't know why. So that was, yeah, so I don't know when Regan took tap dancing lessons, but there you go.
Be joined with us, Father. Oh.
In the screenplay that was brought to me, the original part 2, and as I say, it was really well written. There was some seduction this time. So the devil's going to try a different way. He's going to turn, instead of into the evil, ugly demon, into something that's more fantasy and seductive, to see if he can woo Burton in that way. Fine, that was about it. So it was that turns into the seductive, and whatever. That's wasn't a whole bunch to it. It was my makeup people, most amazing folks, that Linda and Gary, who said, one morning, we have something to bring to your attention, and we don't know that you know. And they said, have you heard that there's a new storyboard of the seduction scene with you and Richard? And I'm like, no. And they said, you need to know. And it is going to be presented, but it's extremely offensive. So that's the gist of what I remember. And there may have been a little more detail in it, but that's, for me, it was never presented. But it was enough to upset me that I went to somebody and said, let me be perfectly clear, ain't gonna happen. Whatever ugliness y'all want to bring into it, that's not gonna happen. So what you see in the film with her turning into the seductive demon, so to speak, that's as far as we went. And it was very odd, I must say, when you got into it, and that was Richard Burton, and it's this whole seductive type of thing. I'm 17 years old, for God's sakes. It was not comfortable for me. A lot of things are not comfortable for actors, but we have to do certain things. And so, I'm not so sure he was comfortable with it either. It was weird. And that's what I remember, because you go from the respect and the admiration and wow, to having to all of a sudden entice into a whole different thing. It's just that was weird for me. But I think we pulled it off okay. Father. At one point, we get into the part of the hypnotism scene is we're in Grand Central Station in New York City. And they had, you can't do this very often, but they had this lot of streets blocked off. It's the Exorcist 2. And they had around Grand Central, the streets blocked off. Now, I'd been going back and forth, in and out of Grand Central Station since I was a kid, and doing commercials in New York. So it's really weird to all of a sudden, be doing this film, and, I felt like Liz Taylor and Richard Burton, and we were going through, Egypt. Anyway, so we go through the scene, and we get on the escalator, and I'm like, Father, can you hear me? Father. Go down the escalator. Then we are on a train, Now, the first time I'd ever had this experience, and I get it, and a lot of people use these tools now. Obviously, Richard Burton is next to me, right? And he is talking, and his voices and things, and he's looking from here, and then he's over here, and he's looking over there, and then there's over there, and there. Anyway, he's reading cue cards. I tell you, because this became the norm. Became the norm. Even reading cue cards, you better have some talent. With that said, we are now standing in the middle of the Museum of History, I believe, in New York City. Natural History, Museum of Natural History. There's no place to put a cue card. There ain't nobody. We're in the museum. You can't do this, and we're kind of in the middle. So, not even thinking about that. I don't care how you get through your process and what you do. It was a little bit like, okay, it's just there's no attachment. There's no connection. So, here's Richard Burton. Regan comes up. Albeit me. And I'm like, Father, Father, whatever, my lines are. He looked into my eyes and he spoke. And let me tell you something. When he talked, my whole body just went. The intensity of who Richard Burton really was so extraordinary. It's one of what we call the markers in life, the things that you always remember. And all I could do, was see Cleopatra and Beckett. And these movies are just going fume, fume, fume. And I'm like, hold it, and speak, and don't lose it. Many actors will go cut because you break concentration. I got Richard Burton for a moment, and it's something you will never forget. Kind of like there's things in life where people say it means so much, a bucket list, what it means. And that to me was on my bucket list that I didn't even know. So in the beginning of time, there were locusts. I don't know anything about them, but they're sort of a cricket type of thing. They're not good. They're evil, and they fly, and they eat crops, so they're bad locusts. They brought the locusts on in the part 2, and in the beginning, and Richard Burton is down with I think a little African young fella. And there was this whole thing where, he takes out his lasso and he's, just doing the with his lasso, and then the locusts part, if I remember correctly. And so later on, when, we're going at it, Burton and I, with the exorcism or the devil and the thing and the stuff, and the locusts are coming and the house is shaking and the earthquake and the fires and God knows, everything the Bible said would happen is happening. And I don't know, I remember a locust stuck to my nostril and going, oh God, this is horrible. So I whipped out my lasso and I start lassoing away as Regan in her little velvet jumpsuity thing, and I'm lassoing and lassoing and lassoing, and I don't know, the world all came to an end, and there you go, and I'm apparently a very effective locust lassoer. I have no idea why any of it happened, but that's my thoughts.
4 years ago, The Exorcist shocked the world. Now, the struggle between good and evil goes on. Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
So the experience that I've shared about the film and the issues there was just too much. And they rewrote it once. They rewrote it twice. That script was rewritten 5 times. So the movie that we set out to make never happened. Too many cooks spoil the brew, and in this case, it's what affected this movie. And in some cases, destroyed the movie. And so we knew that it was not the film we signed on. We all left with great disappointment, I believe. Certainly I know I did. Did we have any expectations? No. Did they do, with good intent to put a good release? And, sometimes you can put things together better than what the mishmash was, and you could be pleasantly surprised. They did the big photo shoots, and they did everything, and the billboards, some wonderful stuff. But the audience, the fans want one thing, and it wasn't delivered. So some can see some interesting information in there, entertainment, enjoyment. Great. That's great. And other ones are like, what? What was that? And I had no control. Burton had no control. You have all these factors, so you know there had to have been something that's, as a common denominator, that started that was genuinely in the right direction.
What's the matter with you?
I was possessed by a demon. Oh, it's okay. He's gone.
They thought the movie was going to be a big deal. With The Exorcist, nobody knew, and it became the phenomenon that it is. So I can only say to people, if you can find anything in it you enjoy, great. And if you don't, I get it, but I didn't write it, and I had nothing to do with putting it together. And I did my best. And that's all you can ever do.